think it was real, not even a little bit. Not when it started as a joke between four bored kids on a humid summer night with nothing better to do. Just me, Jason, Mark, and Leo sitting in Jason's basement, surrounded by empty soda cans, a flickering TV, and the kind of silence that makes dumb ideas sound brilliant. And it was Jason who brought it up, saying he found something online. Some game people claimed could summon a spirit if you followed the rules exactly. And of course, we laughed, because that's what you do when someone says something like that. You laugh and dare them to prove it. And that's exactly what we did. We dared him. And that's where everything started going wrong. Because Jason wasn't joking. He pulled out printed pages, actual instructions, like he had been planning this. And I remember thinking it was weird, but not enough to stop, not enough to say no, because none of us wanted to be the one who backed out first. Not me, not Mark, not Leo. Especially not Leo, who kept saying stuff like, "If it's fake, then there's nothing to be scared of." And that line stuck with me later, long after everything happened, because it sounded so confident at the time, so logical. But it turned out to be the dumbest thing any of us said that night. The rules were simple. Too simple. We had to turn off all the lights, sit in a circle, light one candle in the middle, and each of us had to say our name and ask for something to come, not a specific name, just something, which should have been the first red flag, because why would you ever invite something without knowing what it is? But again, we didn't think it was real. We thought it was just some internet creepypasta nonsense, something to scare ourselves for fun, and so we did it. We followed every step exactly. We turned off the lights. The basement went dark except for that one candle, and I remember how quiet it got, like the house itself was holding its breath. And Jason started first. He said his name and asked, and then Mark, then me, and then Leo. And nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. And we all just sat there for a second before laughing. Loud, relieved laughter. Like we had just proven something. Like we were smarter than the stupid game. And we were about to blow out the candle and call it a night when Leo said we should try one more round, just to be sure. And I wish, more than anything, that I had said no right then. I wish I had stood up and walked out, but I didn't. None of us did. We stayed, and we did it again. And this time, something did happen. Not all at once, not like in the movies. It started small, so small we almost ignored it. The candle flickered even though there was no air moving, and then it dimmed, like something was covering it for just a second before it came back. And Mark joked about a draft. But there were no windows open, no vents blowing, nothing that could explain it. And then we heard it, a soft sound, like something shifting in the corner of the basement, and we all turned at the same time. But there was nothing there, just shadows. And that's when the mood changed. The laughter stopped, and for the first time that night, none of us had anything to say. We just sat there, staring into the dark, pretending we weren't scared, pretending this was still a joke, until Leo laughed again, but it sounded forced this time, and he said we were just freaking ourselves out, and he reached forward to blow out the candle, but before he could, it went out on its own, and that's when everything went silent. Completely silent, like the kind of silence that presses against your ears. And I remember feeling this cold, not like normal cold, but something deeper, like it was coming from inside me. And then we heard breathing, not ours, something else, something slow and uneven, like it was right there with us, and I swear I could feel it behind me, like if I turned around I would see it, but I didn't. None of us moved. We just sat there frozen until Jason suddenly stood up and turned the lights on, and just like that, it was gone. No sound, no cold, nothing. Just the four of us staring at each other, trying to laugh it off again, trying to pretend we didn't all experience the same thing. And eventually, we convinced ourselves it was nothing, just nerves, just our imaginations. And we went home like it was any other night. But it didn't end there, not even close. 'Cause the next day Leo didn't show up to school, and at first we didn't think much of it, but then he didn't answer his phone, and by the second day we started to worry, and by the third day the police were at his house, and that's when we found out. Leo was dead. They said it was an accident, something about a fall, but the details didn't make sense, and when I went to the funeral and saw his face, I knew something was wrong. He looked off, like he wasn't fully at rest, like something was still there. And that's when the guilt hit, hard. Because we all knew, even if we didn't say it out loud, we knew it had something to do with that game. And things only got worse after that. It didn't stop with Leo. It followed us, little things at first. Doors opening by themselves, whispers when no one was there, shadows moving in places they shouldn't. And every night I felt like something was watching me, waiting, and I started having dreams, the same dream over and over. I would be back in that basement, sitting in the circle, but there would be 5 of us, and the 5th person would be sitting where the candle was, and I could never see its face. But I knew it was looking at me, and it would whisper my name over and over until I woke up. And I wasn't the only one. Jason and Mark were experiencing the same things, the same dreams, the same feeling. And that's when we finally said it out loud. We messed up. We brought something here, something real, and we didn't know how to get rid of it. We tried everything we could find online, every cleansing trick, every ritual, but nothing worked. If anything, it made things worse. The activity got stronger, more aggressive, like it was getting closer. And then one night, Mark called me, screaming, saying something was in his room, and then the line went dead. And when we got to his house, he was on the floor, unconscious, barely breathing. And that was the moment we realized we were running out of time, that whatever this thing was, it wasn't done with us. And that's when Jason said we needed real help, not internet nonsense. Something stronger, something that actually knew what it was doing. And that's how we ended up calling the church. I remember feeling stupid at first, like we were overreacting. But the moment the priest walked into Jason's house, everything changed. He stopped in the doorway and just stood there for a second, like he could feel it too. And he looked at us in a way I'll never forget, like he already knew what we had done. And we told him everything, every detail. And he didn't laugh. He didn't question us. He just nodded and said we had invited something in without understanding the cost, and that it didn't want to leave. And hearing someone else say it made it real in a way nothing else had. And he told us we needed to act fast, that we had to confront it where it started, in that basement. And I didn't want to go back there. None of us did. But we didn't have a choice. So that night we went back, me, Jason, Mark, and the priest, and the moment we stepped inside, I felt it again. That cold, that pressure, like the house itself was alive. And we went down to the basement, and the priest told us to stand behind him no matter what happened. And he began to pray, his voice steady and calm. But the room didn't stay calm for long. The air got heavy, the lights flickered, and then we heard it again. That breathing, louder this time, closer, and the candle we had left on the floor lit up on its own, and I swear I saw something standing in the corner, something tall and wrong, like it didn't belong in this world, and it started moving toward us, slow at first, then faster, and Mark screamed, and I felt like I couldn't breathe, like it was crushing the air out of me. But the priest didn't stop. He kept praying, louder now, stronger, and he told us to say it too, to repeat after him. And at first, I couldn't, my voice wouldn't come out, but then I forced it. I repeated the words over and over, and Jason and Mark joined in, and the thing stopped, right in front of us, and for a moment everything froze, and then it let out this sound, this horrible, inhuman sound, like anger and pain mixed together, and the candle blew out again, and everything went black. And for a second, I thought we were done, that it was over for us, but then the lights came back on, and the room was empty, completely empty. The cold was gone, the pressure was gone, everything was just normal, and we just stood there, not moving, not speaking, until the priest finally lowered his voice and said it was gone, that it couldn't stay anymore. And I didn't believe it at first, not fully, not after everything we had been through. But the days passed, and nothing happened. No whispers, no shadows, no dreams, just silence, peaceful silence. And for the first time since that night, I felt like I could breathe again, like I could actually live without looking over my shoulder. And Mark recovered, slowly but surely. And Jason stopped bringing up things from the internet, and we never went back to that basement again. Not together, not alone. And we never talked about the game, not in detail, not like before, because we all knew the truth now. Some things aren't just stories. Some things don't stay where they're supposed to, and some games should never be played, no matter how harmless they seem. Because sometimes, when you call out into the dark, something really does answer, and it doesn't always leave quietly. And even though things ended okay for us, even though we got help in time, I still think about Leo, about how it didn't end the same way for him. And that's something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. A reminder that what started as a joke became something real, something dangerous, and something we were lucky to survive.